Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has announced a major revision to its automated teller machine transaction fees, effectively eliminating the 3 free monthly withdrawals previously granted to customers using other bank ATMs. This directive, outlined in a circular dated February 10, 2025, applies to all banks and financial institutions operating in Nigeria and is set to take effect from March 1st, 2025. It was signed by Mr. John Onoja, Acting Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department, and released on the Apex Bank's website on Tuesday. According to the circular, the CBN has reviewed the ATM transaction fees stipulated under the Section 10.7 of the CBN Guide to charges by banks and other financial institutions, non-bank financial institutions 2020. Let's see what this means for the banking sector and, of course, the larger economy. Mr. Sola Bickersteth is the Executive Director, Financial Inclusion Centers, FRC Professional Center. He joins me live in the studio to look at this development and other developments around Nigeria's banking sector. Thank you so much. It's good to have you in the studio.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and happy Valentine's Day.
Wish all Nigerians the same.
Okay, I think we should start with financial inclusion and its impact. Tell us a bit about where we are, how far we've gone.
To define financial inclusion is to understand that we're not talking about a single line.
Yeah.
There are several aspects of our life that fall into financial inclusion. There is savings, there's credits, there's pension, there's insurance. And in some environments, there's mortgage, there's leasing, and e-commerce. So it really depends. So different aspects. So when you look at it from that broad perspective, in Nigeria, the good news is that 65% of Nigerians today have a bank account.
True.
But that is not financial inclusion. That is like the base that you can build upon. But only 3% of Nigerian businesses, small businesses, have access to credit, which is very crucial to oiling our economy. Only 2% of Nigerians have an insurance product, and only 7% of Nigerians, as of today, have a pension account. So those are the fundamentals that we can use to gauge where we are when we talk about financial inclusion in Nigeria today.
It looks good, but if you were to assess it, are we doing better than it used to be? Because I know the CBN and I think agencies like yours, what you've been doing, which we'll still talk about, are trying to make this better and improve it. Are we moving? Are we making an impact?
We're at 108 million.
Yeah.
So the fundamentals are in place, and in a few years, we will get to almost 100% of Nigerians having a national identity. So the combination of the national identity and basic account opening is like, you're building foundation, and then to put the rest on top becomes easier.
Now, looking at your role and what you do, you are the Executive Director of Financial Inclusion Centers. Tell us specifically what you do and how you are helping in this financial inclusion ecosystem.
Okay, thank you. So we are foot shoulders. Is as simple as that. One of the areas of our impact will be the people that are called POS agents today. We started a journey about 10 years ago, or even earlier, at the time when CBN licensed some mobile money agents. And of course, they knew they don't have branches, and they allowed them to appoint agents. But we went further and went back to CBN and said we need even more agents for even more than mobile money. We need banking agents. And CBN listened to us, and after some going back and forth, the agency banking guideline was released. And that's now allowed the possibility of agents getting into account opening, which is why so many people, 65% of Nigerians now have an account. So we are the foot shoulders. We are the ones who put the people on the field. The agents that are going around helping NIMC to register Nigerians of the national database. We work with the banks to help them with account opening. We work with federal government when it comes to disbursements of palliatives and loans. And of course, we support also small businesses to qualify for intervention funds that ordinarily by themselves they would not have been able to. So we get to the villages and help to bridge that gap between the helicopter vision of the economy and the one that touches the people on ground.
Now, there has been issues, of course, around the POS agents, profiteering and all of that. Let me start with that before I now take you to the new development from the Apex Bank. What would you have to say with regards to that?
Profiteering is not a bad thing.
But when it's excessive?
Well, let's start with our banks. All our banks declare massive profits on a daily basis. Why shouldn't others share with that? Let's keep something in mind. Money is the most important thing to most of us in life. And when we're able to get that aspect of our life sorted out, the rest are easy. So that's the importance. Now, if you have millions of Nigerians, as of today, there are 2.1 million POS devices. 2.1 million POS devices in circulation. And they are manned by between 800 and 1.2 million agents across the country. That is the largest employer of labor in Nigeria. If those people are not able to make a sustainable living, they will pack out and the economy will feel it. So when you say that POS agents are making money, if they don't make money, the economy will be affected. What people need to understand, I've heard some people say that they are buying money at a cost. They're not looking at the total cost of this thing. If you need cash and you have to travel and spend 1,000 naira to get to your bank and get that cash, or get to the nearest ATM and get that cash, that is a cost. Now, if you have to go to just one POS agent close to you, who is now charging you 200 naira or 300 naira, you are still spending less than what it costs you to go to the other alternatives. But because the agents are all over the place, there's this perception that, oh, I cannot pay a little extra for gaining access to my cash. It's not money you're buying. You're paying for the convenience. You're paying for service. And that is not profiteering. That is simply paying for good service.
I think I like that clarity there, and it makes real sense. But let's look at what is playing out now. The CBN has come out to say ATMs will now, you pay more as the charges and all of that. The time we used to have the freebies where we go to withdraw and all of that is the third withdrawal that we get. How would you react to that?
Well, Nigeria is an interesting country. We like free things. But no economy anywhere on earth survives on free anything. The 3 withdrawals for free was a promo that the central bank introduced to encourage the use of ATMs at the time. We're talking about 12 years ago. And what we're insisting on is that that free promo should last forever. No free promo lasts forever. A free promo will be 30 days, 6 months. But this one has gone on for 12 years. And we're insisting that, the promo should continue forever. It's just adjusting, what was, given out for free to people. There's a cost to providing service. And, anybody that says service is free really needs to have a rethink.
So you think it's a step in the right direction?
It is not
or it's something that should happen?
It's not a major effect on the entire ecosystem. It's a minor effect. In the first instance, unfortunately, most ATMs in Nigeria are not even active in the first instance. 95% of cash withdrawals today are done at POS locations.
And that is why people think that the POS merchants or agents might be taking advantage of them in some cases.
They're providing service. That's not
they can make profit, but do they have to take advantage of us? So in some cases, I follow victim too.
There's sometimes. No POS agent that is charging up to 500 naira per transaction. They are still charging between 200 and 300. I've done the analysis for you.
Are we monitoring
the alternative?
This, really?
Oh, yes. There's a lot of monitoring going on. There are several industry associations that the POS agents work with, and they talk among themselves. And I can assure you there's that constant war about charging and overcharging. Remember that there are so many POS agents around you that the moment you start overcharging, nobody even needs to tell you. Your customers will move to the one to the POS agents next door. So it's market dynamics that is determining these charges. But as long as we see what the POS service providers are doing as service and not buying money, then we understand it. It's convenience. And it's normal in any economy.
Well, before we wrap up this conversation, how can agents help curb fraud and other illegal activities?
Well, capacity building is very crucial. The POS industry, because of the easy access to become a POS agent today, essentially has become like Okada business. Anybody can go and request for a POS. And there's no basic training that is required for them to get started. So most of the issues that come around is because the POS agents are not properly trained. Training is not a requirement before onboarding. That is the first. We're talking about the basic training. But it's also important for us to recognize that when we talk about agency banking, we're talking about professionalism. We're talking about opening accounts. We're talking about loan processing. We're talking about card issuance, ATM card issuance, and all those higher level of services that you actually need a minimum level of professionals to be engaged. And kudos to the Chartered Institute of Bankers. They've introduced an agency banking certification program that you can start a foundation and become certified. So agency banking in itself is a profession comparable to commercial banking and micro banking. But basic service that we now call POS in Nigeria should have that basic training. And once that is in place, fraud becomes easier to manage. We're also hoping that very soon, every POS agent will have an identity tag. It is a requirement by law. We just need to implement that requirement so that when anybody walks to a POS agent, you can identify that POS agent in the first instance. And of course, there's technology that allows the POS agent to also verify the identity of anyone that comes to do any transaction at their location. There are very low-hanging fruits that can be put in place in a very short period. And CBN is doing a lot about it, by the way.
Before I let you guys to wrap this segment of the show up, do you think that, many say with this move by the Apex Bank, the ATM machines might become more functional than they used to be? Cash might start to get into those ATMs because now they're going to, of course, get some money back, and you said it's a service being provided. Do you think that would in any way affect how that margin for the POS operators? Maybe people will now do more of the ATMs. Do you think there'll be a challenge in service, or you think everyone has their role to play?
Yes, thank you. You see, POS didn't grow because the ATMs didn't exist. It's the convenience. You walk into a marketplace, and within that marketplace, there are 10 POS locations you can go to and get cash. The nearest ATM is likely to be like a kilometer away. So it doesn't really matter. The convenience of POS.
So they have their market?
Oh, of course. The convenience is unbeatable, for sure. And the cost of deploying a POS agent is much less than deploying ATM machines. And that human touch is actually a master stroke, because a lot of people are still very uncomfortable going to stand in front of a machine and try to withdraw their money. And that is even where a lot of fraud also takes place. People pretending to help elderly people when they're trying to use an ATM, and in reality, they're getting their card details. And then when they leave the ATM machine, funny things start happening. So every market has its space. The POS have their space. The ATMs have their space.
Well, I must thank you so much, Mr. Sola Bickersteth, for your making real sense of all of this on the show today. Executive Director of Financial Inclusion Centers, FRC Professional Centers. Hope to have you again to talk, of course, around the economy, financial inclusion and all.
Yes, we'll be happy to do that anytime.
Thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend.
And you too.
All right, then.